Hey everyone, it's Derek with OPTP. The sun is out, it is a gorgeous day. I have my mat and my soft movement ball here, and today what we're gonna do is focus on some exercises that help create strength in the low back. So we're gonna look at some movements that, one, build strength directly in the low back, kind of in isolation, and then two, we're gonna look at some exercises that build strength and stability around all the supporting structures. Let's get started. Okay, we're gonna begin with an exercise that directly kind of isolates the low back. Now I'm again using a soft movement ball here. It's great because it's bigger than a Pilates small ball, but smaller than a stability ball. So we can do a lot of unique exercises with it. If you don't have a soft movement ball, go ahead and grab your stability ball. What we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of lay over the ball, positioning it right underneath the waistline or right around that area, depending on where it's comfortable for you. You're gonna rest your forearms and elbows on the ground. If you have a stability ball and you're up higher, just plant your hands flat on the ground, okay? From here, all we're gonna do to start is just drive the heel to the sky, engaging in some hip extension. Now, again, I said we're gonna isolate the low back. This isn't really isolating the low back to start, but this is how we're gonna warm up with this hip extension. And being in this slightly extended position through your spine, you're certainly gonna feel this movement in the low back. After you've warmed up for 10 to 15 repetitions on each side, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave the hands planted or leave the elbows and forearms down, and we're gonna drive both legs up off the floor. This is where you're really gonna feel it in the low back a little bit more, and then rest. So only progress to this if you're able and you don't feel any pain. And we're gonna do this one about 10 to 15 times. These are both great exercises for strengthening the low back and also the supporting gluteal muscles. Okay, next we're gonna work through some bridge progressions with the soft movement ball. Now this is great again because it gives me some feedback regarding muscle activation across the hips and allows me to focus more on engaging those muscles. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna position the soft movement ball between the knees, ground the arms and hands, hips are down, head is down. I'm gonna squeeze the soft movement ball, really activating those adductors and then drive the hips off the floor. So again, this is great because it really gives me feedback. I can feel all the hip complex activated here as I'm driving up. We're gonna do 10 to 15 repetitions here and you're gonna feel it all across the back side. Now, if you've mastered this exercise and you want a greater challenge, I'm gonna show you a pretty big progression here, a pretty big jump in intensity. We're gonna position one foot on the soft movement ball, the other foot on the ground, both knees at roughly 90 degrees to start. We're gonna lift up into that bridge. Now from here, we're just gonna kind of do an isometric hold, but I want you to take this grounded foot and elevate it, lift it up off the ground. So we would hold here for 5, 10, 15 second count. This is a great exercise. You're gonna feel it all along the hamstrings and all along the glutes and into the low back. Okay, the first two exercises, we really focused on the back side of the body, the low back and some of the proximal regions that help create stability and strength in that area. But we can also expand outside of that region and get into the general core musculature, which is also gonna help create stability in the trunk and take some pressure off the low back. So I love push-ups. We're gonna do a couple push-up variations with our soft movement ball here. The first one I'm gonna show you is a little bit more advanced. Again, this acts like a stability ball, so I can kind of get into this push-up position. Being smaller than a stability ball, it's a little easier to do so, and I'm gonna engage in this great push-up variation that requires lots of stability and lots of upper body strength. Now, of course, if I'm not able to engage in such an intense upper body exercise, another great way to still create stability and engage all those muscles around the ribs and hips is offset the ball to one side, plant one hand on top, the other hand on the floor, stay on your knees or on your feet, and engage in this modified push-up. Now, this is definitely gonna create a stability challenge as you're driving through this unstable surface. It's gonna create activation across your trunk, which is gonna help support and stabilize your back. And obviously, after doing about 10 repetitions on one side, we wanna switch to the other side. And again, just to recap, you have option of being on the knees or on the feet. Okay, next, a great way to create some support for the low back is by strengthening the lateral line. These are the side aspects of our body that, when strong and stable, help us maintain posture and create rigidity throughout our frame, which makes us more stable. When weak, it makes us susceptible to injury, especially in the low back. So we're gonna take the soft movement ball here and position it between the feet. And what I'm gonna do is position the underside arm here, elbow, forearm, hand on the floor. I'm gonna lift up into a side plank position by pushing off of that bottom foot and lifting my hips. Now, if I need some help, I can take this hand and rest it down and help hold my body up that way. But if I'm able to, I wanna lift that hand off the floor, maybe set it on the hip here and hold it for 30 to 60 seconds. Even less, you're still gonna get a lot of benefit out of this exercise if you're not quite there yet. Here's one other tip. Try to physically squeeze that ball between your feet. Create some activation through the inner thighs there, get a little more out of the exercise, a little more stability around that hip complex. This is a great exercise. Okay, to finish up, we're gonna engage in an exercise that does create a little bit more isolation in the low back. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take our soft movement ball, position one hand on top, get the shoulders right over the hands here and get into this 4-point position. Now we're gonna do a bird dog exercise. The idea here is to take the hand that's on the ground and lift it up off the floor, kind of parallel with your body, then take the opposite side leg and extend it behind you. Okay, so I'm in this bird dog position. So I'm gonna lower and lift for repetitions. Now what's great is because the majority of my upper body weight is being pressed kind of through this ball, it creates a lot of activation across the shoulders and into the core. And of course the movement itself as I drive that leg and arm up off the ground and move into extension is a great exercise for strengthening the low back. So you can do this one for repetitions, maybe 10 to 15 on each side, or you can do it in isolation, lift and hold for 15 to 30 seconds on each side. All right, everyone, hope you found today's exercises very useful for yourself or for your clients and patients. If you want to learn more about the soft movement ball, which isn't only great for the types of movements that we did today, but also a ton of other rehabilitation, Pilates, and core exercises, just go to optp.com. Thanks again.